DFTW, yeah, you.
Hey, welcome back to the well. Got another one on the block today. Trying to keep these kind of consistent as far as like the topics that we're talking about and maybe the overall concepts that we're building on. Adventure is this concept where you have a thing that you do, such as where you live, where you work, who you hang out with, all that stuff. And then an adventure is going beyond that, going beyond the bounds of the regular stuff of what you know. And it's kind of like if you're a character in a book, it's adding to the story. The character goes outside of the village and goes on a quest and gathers whatever the magical thing is, the gold, the special item, and brings it back to the village. And then the village is more prosperous and in a kind of metaphorical way. If you do that with your tribe or whatever, you're essentially going out, gathering these experiential treasures and bringing them back, which invigorates the overall tribe, which is kind of the core of what I'm trying to get at, is that if you build up your tribe, you're building up your crew, your squad, that everyone benefits from it. And then if that's the general mindset, even if there's different squads and different groups, they will benefit each other. There was a episode on, kind of tribalism, being tribal, whatever. And in that sense, you would go out, gather things like berries or hunt animals and bring it back for the tribe to help sustain. And if you didn't do that, then maybe they would only have like berries or wheat or something to sustain off of. But since you did this thing and brought it back, it's this kind of extra function for your people. So any adventure done is essentially like having your crew get to experience it because you're there to kind of share it with them in a way where you couldn't really do it maybe from reading a book. You could, but it wouldn't be to the same level of connection, which is the point. It really kind of lends the people that you allow it to a closer look at a thing that maybe they don't even know they care about, or maybe they don't even care about it, but everybody cares about a cool story or a cool adventure. So there's definitely value in even doing just small little stuff that you might seem, or that you might think is not so crazy or out there or whatever, but don't fail to do it, because those experiences not only add up for you, but add up to what you're sharing with your crew. Resources and material doesn't have to just be physical things. Back in the day, it would have been like if you somehow survived like an animal attack through a specific thing and then shared it with everybody, and now they all have a way to get out of that same situation. Then that's the equivalent of, going out, and maybe if you're going to a place that people like to go to, and maybe when you went, you experienced it in this specific way, that if you shared it with somebody, it would be helpful for them to navigate that same situation. And maybe they don't want to, maybe they want to do it their own way, which is totally cool. But the whole thing about sharing experience is just that. You're just sharing the experience. It's not meant to be anything beyond that. A lot of the times, hopefully it's a catalyst for the person that you're sharing it with to do the experience themselves. But sometimes it's a cautionary thing where you're like, hey man, watch out for this. You don't want this to happen to you. When you share the inputs of like whatever the different adventures are, I think it not only amplifies the group's kind of overall understanding of the world and, a greater sense of adventure and whatnot, it kind of keeps the group, I think, free of becoming kind of full of like echo chamber type things, which would be something that's trying to push you more towards not changing, which usually isn't a natural kind of function. Everything changes, everything flows. You kind of got to go with the flow. When somebody experiences something new, is introduced to something new, they can kind of come back and share that experience. And it's just kind of a way to stimulate new experience opportunities that you might have never even thought of. Like somebody goes to another country, they experience some food or an experience that you've never even heard of. Boom, you now have access to this thing that maybe not everybody has access to as an experience option. You're in a way like a little treasure hunter for experiences. And if you find some cool ones and you want to share them, you could potentially make someone's trip to this place 10 times better, or 10 times worse. Not only is it all these things, but adventure is just fun. It's just like a natural human state, I think, to be like, I live here, I farm here, I don't really go outside much, and then somebody's like, hey, you got to go across the bay and go to this place and gather this thing, it's going to be a crazy undertaking where there's maybe danger, trials. If you do it, not only did you accomplish this mission that was probably a necessity, but you have all these fun little mini missions along the way that just build out your life's character, which essentially, if you're a character in a story, you know, and you kind of are in a way, no matter what, it builds to your character chapter by chapter, you know. Even if it's a background character, you would still want that background character to be as vibrant as possible. So even if you're the cabbie in the movie about the action hero, don't you want the cabbie to be a witty, funny cabbie instead of just like, where are you going, champ? You know, so it's up to each of us to do our own little thing. But I think the more that you push for that, the more it kind of reciprocates because others are being engaged by that. Whereas the phone stuff is more suck you into pulling you apart through negativity and pushing you into different files or camps or whatever. On the echo chamber thing, I think that those are, like, even in the name echo chamber, it's a chamber. It's made to contain a specific type of thought pattern, where I think tribes are more like sharing stuff that you find, not some unchanged thing. I just feel like that doesn't seem like a natural type of flow, a natural type of system, you know, because everything grows, everything changes, everything moves, everything flexes. So for you to try to keep it so rigid, just to me screams of an obvious like human hand in that is trying to gain a benefit over it or out of it. Imagine maybe what that type of mindset would produce as far as like experience opportunities that you might have, where right now, if you're just used to your own little world of whatever you're doing, now imagine you're exposed to a large group of people who are all doing kind of different stuff. You're just going to run into things that you probably didn't even know existed. It's just like somebody recommending a show that became your favorite show or something, and just by being exposed to other realms, kind of other thought experiences. And the more you do that, you know, I think that's what kind of is the allure of the internet and things, is that's exactly what it is. But without a one-to-one interpreter, the information can kind of come at you as anything. Whereas if it's coming through more of the human filter or this like tribal connection thing, it just has this level of authenticity that I think is much more believable, because you just don't know what's coming through the phone screen anymore. Adventure's like an intentional course shift. You have a regular flow, kind of like a river, and you're just like in the flow and it just goes. And then an adventure is like, if you're floating in this river that's just taking you, you kind of paddle off to one direction or the other, and it leads you to maybe a little extra tributary thing or some other natural wonder like a waterfall or something like that. It's not that you need it, you know, you're just still floating down the river. That's kind of just what the deal is. But these little adventures just expose you to extra stuff that kind of does enrich the whole process. So it's not just kind of this never-ending flow. Almost like if you were to shoot an arrow, but you don't really even care where it goes to whatever target, it's like, is it kind of pointless to shoot the arrow? I mean, I guess not, but maybe over time it just loses its essential value if you're not like trying to hit a target for a specific purpose. Not to say it always has to be the red target right in the middle. It has to be in that realm, in that direction, because it has just a base set of needs that needs to be hit first, and then you can stack whatever on top of that. But if you don't start with that, it kind of negates the whole purpose of even trying to do it in the first place. Like new and different experiences through adventures kind of like challenge your understanding. They expose you to different cultures. You might kind of just have an understanding that's been put right into your head, and then you're actually in a situation, and then you're like, huh, that's interesting, because I didn't have that same type of stereotypical experience. And it's just opportunities for you to gauge what you have put in your head as theories of the world and your life and things, and you kind of get to put it to practice. I think the regular world's not really set up to be putting you in those types of scenarios, so you do have to go on adventures to get those things kind of stimulated, at least maybe in any type of kind of meaningful way. Experience is going to happen to you no matter what. It's just, that's what life is a never-ending stream of experiences. So if you go out on an adventure every single moment of that time is of your choosing because you went on this adventure versus just chilling at your house or on your farm or whatever it is that is your daily life and routine. By going on this adventure, you're breaking out of that pattern. And if it's just happening to you, sometimes it can make you maybe feel kind of powerless. You're just like being pulled in a sea or in an ocean or in a river. But if you're out there doing the thing on the adventure, even if it's hard, even if it's tough, you're kind of like, well, I did put myself here, so let's maybe try and make this happen. Versus if you're just somewhere and a bad thing happens to you, your farm gets burned down or whatever, you're like, why? Why did this happen to me? But when you're out on an adventure, you're kind of like making it happen, doing what you got to do. And it's just a different sense, I think, it's a different way to engage with the world that not a lot of people do on the regular. And we're probably not even really situated or trained to be that way anymore, unless maybe you got expendable income, time, money, all that good stuff, which if you do, more power to you, because there's definitely some adventures out there to be had. Adventure, adventure, adventure. That's the name of the game here. Right there in the word venture is like a thing that you do, like a business venture or whatever, and then add on to it. It's just even if it's just, it doesn't even have to be maybe a physical thing. Like going out and doing stuff and, finding adventure and all this it is a heavy motion, but it just pays off so well, even for the smaller stuff. And there's so many hidden things that you don't even realize are going to be part of whatever this little adventure that you go on is. Here's a host of examples. Like, when you first move out, you have this kind of like understanding of what this thing is from how you grow up. And then when you're out in the real world, you start to learn all the little small in-between stuff, which is interesting to say the least. And everybody has their own experience with that. And more power to you, because it's crazy no matter what. Even if you have an easy ride, I feel like you still, can experience some pretty interesting and wild stuff. I used to have a job where I would travel around a lot, and mostly in Florida, but a little bit of international stuff. And that was totally an adventure, especially traveling to other countries where you don't speak the language and kind of going out and trying to experience the culture. It's just a wild experience. And I basically had gone down to Costa Rica and was walking around. Ended up getting tattooed down there, which is a really interesting story. Ran into this girl. She ended up kind of showing me around, and we're just walking around doing our thing. And there's times where maybe your ego gets a hold of you and you like flex a little bit. And luckily for me, the situation worked out in my favor and nothing bad happened. But when I look back on it, it was definitely an invite for some trouble to happen. And I'm very glad that it ended up not being anything too wild. Yeah, I was definitely leaning into the adventurous side of the whole thing. Wanted to see the sights, wanted to smell the smells, see the things, be with the people. That was one of the cooler parts, was being with this person kind of allowed me access to stuff that you wouldn't maybe know about as a non-local. Just places to go eat, things to see. And then you got tattooing, which is like adventure literally by its very nature. If the venture is your body, you're adding on to it with every single one. So you're kind of making the story larger, more intricate, more interesting. That's why I love tattooing so much, because that's what it is. It's putting your story onto your body, from your mind onto your body. It's a really cool thing. So I think that adventure is baked right into that. So is tribalism, really, because it's about like marking yourself with what it is that you like and what you want to connect with people, how you want to connect with people through this nonverbal language. A simple puppy dog, if it's a brand of a thing, like a Disney, whatever, it's all these signals. And playing into the adventure portion of this, back in the day, you would travel around and gather them as little like traveling trinkets, which is so cool because they're literally like markers of your adventure. Before I was on my tattoo journey to do tattoos, I was collecting kind of steam trunk style tattoos on one of my legs. And anytime I'd go traveling, I'd get a tattoo somewhere. So literally they would be like little markers for the adventure that I was on. And when I look at them, every single one of them, boom, it pops right back into my head. Especially I was down in Costa Rica on that same trip, which the girl that I met was at this tattoo shop that I ended up finding. So basically I'm wandering around the city on an adventure, basically trying to see what I can find, walking down the sidewalk and walking past this door, and there's this big kind of steel sculpture made out of bolts, nuts, like rebar, anything that's like metal found, but like in a junkyard type of thing, all welded together. And it looks like a bug and, like maybe a big fly or something like that. And As I walk a little bit closer to it, you can hear the buzzing noise, the buzzing of a tattoo machine. And I'm like, I can't believe it. There's no way. So I open the door a little bit more. There's a little staircase. It leads up. The walls are all painted red. And I'm like, oh, no way. This is definitely a tat shop. So wander up the stairs, end up finding a guy in there. He's tattooing this girl. She works for customer service for like, you know, one of the big phone companies down there. So she speaks English very well. So she's able to translate for me to get my tattoo done from this guy. It was just this amazing experience, total adventure. I got tattooed by these kind of open bay window things. And just so happened that there was a brothel across the street. So there were prostitutes kind of selling their wares on the corner. Totally wild. We ended up buying a little bit of just like the shittiest regs weed ever off of a dude walking around in the street so that we could smoke a joint before the tattoo. And it was fucking hilarious because the guy looking at me, being like not local or whatever, kind of was giving me the eye a few times. Definitely thought I was probably a narc, but the tat guy's like, nah, he's cool. And it was just a wild experience. The doors were open, getting tattooed, the buzz of the machine. It was just a wild experience, but I'll never forget it. And it's just, those are the things that bake into your personality and really shape who you are. So, but tattooing is littered with things like that. But even as a tattooer or someone getting a tattoo, really the adventure potential ultra high there, and ultra rewarding as well. Even something small, just a little trinket tattoo. If you get it somewhere crazy or with someone crazy, just totally, totally awesome. Then the most, I think, by far, wildest adventure of all time is being a parent, because it takes you to not only possibly new physical places or whatever, but definitely new mental places that you didn't even know existed, couldn't even know exist, had no earthly idea of what this could or would might be. But it's also the ultimate, in my opinion, opportunity to really learn some stuff about you and potentially make the next super cool person who does all these things that I'm talking about, kind of just does cool things that help the overall motion of the world and what's going on and what it is to be a person, you know? Really, I'm just going to stick to it because it always boils down to the tribe. You just got to be for the tribe. And we've gotten split up a little bit, but we just need to bring it back. You need to bring it back to like who you hanging out with and why, and what are they doing and what are they like? Would you want to go on an adventure with them? Would you want to spend time in a place that is maybe a little challenging and it's maybe a little dangerous? So you're going to have to really trust these people and their actions, because some shit could go down, and you need everybody to be spicy on the ball. You know what I mean? So not that crazy of an ask if you ask me, but building it up, you know, one at a time. Figure it out. Most definitely. Without what I call any like real adventure, I think the human being kind of goes into a little bit of a state of stagnation, which just kind of means that you're almost like hibernating like a bear. You're still alive, but you're just not really hitting on a maximum, you know? A bear's just living in there sleeping. It's not like doing all the cool shit that a bear likes to do, eating honey and catching fish in the river and all that good stuff. So, I mean, adventure is important. And say maybe you're in a situation where you can't go physically on an adventure. I think it's still important to, you know, go on a mental adventure, read a book, read a story, connect with somebody who has been on an adventure, let them tell you a story. But I also think maybe that's where we've been led astray with the technology and stuff, is that you can go on an adventure in your mind and never have to leave the comfort of your own home. And it's so good now that it's almost like, well, why wouldn't you do that instead of going to do the real one? Because you might get hurt doing the real one, or something bad might happen. And that would just be, which is dumb, because like, fall down, scrape your knee, no big deal. Like, don't go riding a motorcycle into a volcano, sure, you know, or do, because that would be rad. But, you know what I mean? Like, keep it in the realm of not too cray, but still, get out there. You know, like that's what like 4th of July is all about. You're like watching explosions happen, and every so often some shit does hit the fan. But what, are we just not going to do that anymore? You don't take that away. That's like, there's a innate human need, maybe, to see things go boom, boom. The non-physical adventure kind of just like, it has this ability to be manipulated in a way that's just kind of not that cool, you know? You could kind of sell somebody on, hey, this is so cool, let me describe it to you, and they're like, what? That sounds totally awesome. But if you're there doing it, there's no way to miss-sell the event. It is exactly what it is. It's like telling somebody how great a movie is, and then you watch it and you're like, I didn't really like it. It's because everybody has their own taste. So that's why it's important for you to physically experience the thing and not just read the pamphlet on it, because maybe it is or is not as good as it's saying that it is. I know that's a little bit weird, but I think that we're kind of all using our energies maybe in misplaced places, because you're just reading the catalog and you never really get a confident sense of what a lot of things even are. It's just like these Cliff Note experiences. And if it's not sold to you in a specific way, you're probably not even interested in it, even though it's probably something super cool. For instance, somebody says like sunset, and you're like, that's not even cool. Then you go see one, and some of them are like, what, a Florida sunset over there on the beach with some like rain clouds and whatever, with some lightning and shit, mind blowing, you know? But if you just say the word and slim it down, sunset, it's like, yeah, of course it's boring and dumb. It's just a couple of letters. But it's how are you experiencing it yourself? Be aware that shit's prepackaged for you and being fed to you. And they're like, this is the best mind food ever. And you're like, oh, well, I have like mind diarrhea all the time. That's weird. And they're like, oh, pay no attention to the mind diarrhea. Maybe quit eating the poo-poo mind food. Just for a bit and see what happens. What does that even mean? I know, but like, let's provide each other some space to interact without it, you know? Almost train ourselves to be like, if we're hanging out with each other and the phone comes out, you're kind of like, hey, cut the shit. And you're like, good call. You know, still use it. I'm not saying don't use it. I'm just saying bring back that there is this almost like social awareness of each other and respect for a want to bring each other's experience in that moment up and not give it to the phone. Give it to the phone as a sacrifice. That sucks. So just, you know, one last push on the tribe thing. I feel like it's super important to go and do a thing, not just do a book report, research, internet-based, scanning for an image, blah, blah, blah. Go do the thing, soak up the experience, and when you bring that back, you're almost physically bringing back a piece for the tribe. That by doing that experience with your physical self, you're able to bring back like almost like a vibe or a frequency that they can kind of almost pick up on. And if everybody's doing that, we're all bringing that back, it adds up and it spills back onto everybody. And you have this kind of enhanced experience and enhanced exposure to real stuff, not what the internet wants to show you, not some fucked up videos that are linked to making you buy some shit, you know? That's garbage. It needs to be like, what would your friend relate to you, or your family member relate to you, or whomever would relate to you that you would probably like, because it's probably going to be something that you're going to like. Not, hey, everybody likes a cat video and then a car crash video and then you know what I mean? It's not what you really want to be looking at. It's just low-hanging bullshit mind fruit, basically. Yeah, bring back a space, even if it's playing cards with the dudes or video games in the same house or going to the movies together and then talking about the movie afterwards, discussing it, you know, or discussing books that you read. Just be around, share the space, give less of the energy to the void, the phone, the black box, the monolith, basically, from 2001. That's what the phone is. Look at it. Look at its shape. Look at its color. But experience and adventure being different, and that adventure is like curated experience versus experience just coming at you like a shotgun blast without your control. You're just kind of dodging and weaving at whatever's coming at you. The experience is what you're choosing, kind of like picking where you want to go on vacation. You know, it's going to affect when you come back all the stuff that you did where you chose to go on vacation, you know? So it's really important to kind of even understand what kind of adventure you're going on, and not to go into stuff blind. Or maybe go into stuff blind, because then you experience things that you wouldn't have thought of, which maybe that's where the wildest adventure is. So, but I just mean maybe don't get stuck in not trying to figure out where the adventure is. Should always be trying to figure out where the adventure is for yourself and for everybody around you, because then we all get to hear about the cool story too. And if everybody's trying to seek the coolest story, not the coolest story to be cool, but for your own fun time, then the story meetups just become amazing, you know? Everybody's kind of like recalling the cool times. And I think that's pretty neat. Adventure, have the adventure. Come back and comment. Tell me about the adventure. I'd love to hear about it. And until next time.
DFTW, yeah, you.